Welcome in to the 29th episode of The Ivy. So I'm Thomas. I'll be here with you for the next 30 to 40 minutes or so to dive into everything Cubs related. If you like the Cubs, you've come to the right place, and I'm extremely grateful once again that you took some time out of your busy schedule to join me here. Whether you're listening to me live here on Sunday night or whether you're listening going to work during the week, I appreciate it as always. All right, so first we're going to discuss the last couple series versus the A's. That one finished up the series, the homestand, the 6-game homestand at Wrigley Field. And then the Red Series started a 10-game road trip, and it began in Cincy, a 4-game set. Luckily, the Cubs actually came out of there with a split before today's win. Well, we were down 3-0 through 5 innings today. We didn't score till the 6th. And the 2 previous days was just awful. But anyways, we'll look into all that. And then secondly, per usual, we'll look at how the rest of the NL Central has fared this week. The Cubs actually had a 4.5 game lead, I believe, at the end of the A series. However, the Brewers have been hot. The Cardinals have been playing well. So all of a sudden, we see ourselves only 2 games up on the Cardinals once again and 2.5 on Milwaukee. And then another team to mention in the NL, it's really hot, is the Mets. When you look at the wild card, all of a sudden they're only a game out of the wild card. As of right now, Washington and St. Louis are the 2 wild card teams. However, there are 6 teams within 5 games, 7 within 6.5 if you include San Diego. So you look at teams that aren't in it. Milwaukee, the Mets are really hot. Philly's got a talented lineup. Not so much San Francisco or Arizona or even Cincinnati. But Philly, the Mets, Milwaukee, St. Louis, and Washington, along with the Cubs, because we're not, exactly, totally going to win the division, sold on winning the division. So those 6 teams fighting for 3 spots, if you include the Cubs, is very interesting as we sit here now on August 11th, nearing, just a month and a half left of baseball, as teams have already played upwards of 110 games, only about 50 left for most teams. So this is where it really gets big. But anyways, like I said, we'll get into all that. But we'll start with last Monday's Game 1 victory against the Athletics in Game 1. Nick Castellanos hit his first homer as a Chicago Cub at Wrigley to start off the series against the Athletics. That was his 12th of the season, his first as a Cub. However, Marcus Semion's 2-run homer in the 3rd inning off of Kyle Hendricks made it a 2-1 game, and Hendricks actually got the no decision in this one. The Cubs didn't score again until the 6th inning when they tied the game on a Javier Baez solo home run, his 27th of the season. But unfortunately, Kyle Hendricks didn't get the win. He got the no decision, going 6 1/3, only giving up 1 hit. That Marcus Semien 2-run homer. One of his 2 walks was right before Semien. So you look at it, and Semien's pitch not necessarily was a bad pitch. It was more the walk that came back to bite Hendricks for those 2 earned runs. 2 walks and 5 strikeouts to finish out his line. Down to a 3.06 ERA after this start. Rowan Wick earned the win, and that was because of a 4-run 7th inning highlighted by Ian Happ's solo home run, his first of the year. Nick Castellanos earlier in the game, like I said, first homer Chicago Cub, and then Ian Happ, his first homer since being called up. That was the go-ahead homer, and that one, I believe, traveled super far. 474 feet. A whopping 474 feet. That's incredible. Javi's 6th inning homer was actually 454 feet. That was a moonshot to center field off of Bassett to tie it, like I said. But Ian Happ, 474 feet to give the Cubs a 3-2 lead. And then Castellanos had his league-leading 40th double. That made it a 4-2 game. And then Javi, once again, a 2-home-run game, a 2-run homer to cap off the 4-run 7th for the Cubs, his 28th of the year, to score Casty after, like I said, his RBI double, and that blew the game wide open at 6-2. However, all of a sudden, it was 6-5 real quick Back-to-back homers from Nick Martini and Marcus Semien. Marcus Semien, like Javi, 2 homers in this game. He was on fire against the Cubs in this series. But Nick Martini's was a 2-run homer, his first of the year, much like Ian Happ. And then, like I said, Semien's made it 6-5. Both those homers came off of Steve Cishek, who really has struggled. He's now hit the DL with hip inflammation. So that'll be interesting to play out, especially because we already have guys on the DL or bereavement list. You look at Kyle Ryan on the bereavement list. And then injured list, Brandon Kinsler and Craig Kimbrell still there. We did get Pedro Strop back, and David Phelps has been really good. But Steve Cishek gave up those 3 runs in this game. However, the Cubs were able to hold on. David Phelps came in for the last out with 2 men on after Kyle Ryan gave up a hit and a walk. But Phelps earned his first save of the year on a ball that actually went to the warning track, and it was against Marcus Semien, of all people. And that easily could have been his 3rd homer of the game to give the Athletics the win. But the Cubs were victorious in this one. Like I said, Rowan Witt got the win. The Cubs won 6-5 in Game 1. Let's move on to Game 2, where the Cubs got trampled, or I should say John Lester got trampled. He gave up 11 runs. 9 of those were earned across 4 innings, 10 hits given up. And this was the game that the news broke that we had lost Kinsler, I believe, to the DL, or the IL, I should say. And so we really had no relievers. We needed Lester to go at least 4, and he, thank God, did that. But it's hard, to ask a guy to go out there after giving up 11 runs. He would have been pulled after the 2nd inning, in which he gave up 8 runs. I believe, was it 8 or 9 straight Athletics went to the plate without the Cubs recording an out. So that was just horrendous. I'm not even going to go into the play-by-play for how the A's scored, because first off, you guys really probably only care how the Cubs score, and second off, it's just way too much. But anyways, 3 more runs in the 4th were given up by Lester, another homer. Brett Anderson was pretty good in this one. The Cubs did tack on some runs late in the game. They did end up with 11 hits and those 4 runs, but it was 11-0 through 5.5 in this one. The Cubs, like I said, finally got on the board in the 6th. Chris Bryant hit a 2-run homer. He was really struggling. He hit another huge home run today, his 23rd of the year. So he was a little bit cool after his first homer here, but today, it couldn't have been at a perfect time, down 1 with 2 men on and 2 out. Anyways, his 2-run homer in this one made it 11-2, and then Kyle Schwarber had a 2-run single in the 9th. So I think 3 or 4 of the Cubs hits, of the 11 Cubs hits game in the 9th, the offense didn't get it done against Brett Anderson, as the box score shows you. 6 innings, 7 hits, 2 runs. He only had 3 strikeouts, but his defense got it done behind him. The A's finished the game with an error along with the Cubs, as it was a rubber match for Wednesday's matchup. And the Cubs actually took this one, and they killed Oakland. And we actually were down. Well, I guess it was scoreless through 3. We were down 1-0 after 4 because of Matt Olson's sac fly. But all of a sudden, the Cubs, they went crazy again. 9 runs across the 4th and 5th innings, 5 in the 4th, 4 in the 5th. And Ian Happ highlighted it in the 4th with a grand slam, his 2nd home run as a Chicago Cub for this year. Obviously, he was in AAA being called up, and he's just been great. He's hit 4 homers, actually. He hit another 2 in Cincy. But anyways, this grand slam was the go-ahead shot, eventually game-winning, as the Athletics didn't get on the board again. Jose Quintana was great in this one. But then later on, Javier Baez's 2nd RBI single plated the 6th run in the 5th. And then the last 3 runs came home on Kyle Schwarber's 3-run blast. That was his 26th of the year to make it 9-1, and Victor Caratini put a cherry on top in the 8th, his 6th of the year to make it a 10-1 game. Like I said, Jose Quintana was also dominant. He earned his 10th win of the year, 10-7 record, going 7 innings of 1-run ball, only giving up 2 hits, 7 strikeouts, and an impressive 0 walks from Jose Quintana. And like I said, 3 hits, As for the bullpen, they were also tremendous. Pedro Strop in the ninth, and David Phelps had a really good week, and he's really looked strong with the Cubs so far since we got him from Toronto. And it's been very impressive how Nick Castellanos and David Phelps, how much, and Ian Happ have really helped this team. And even Jonathan Lucroy in that one game that the Cubs beat the Reds, game 1. He had a couple of hits and an RBI double, I believe. But anyways, let's get into that game. As the Cubs won game 1 against the Reds, and wrapping it up, the Athletics did lose 2-3 to the Cubs, as the Cubs are now 41-19, I believe, at home. I want to make sure I get that right. Yep, 41-19 at home, 23-35 on the road. Against teams that are above 500, we're 33-31. I wonder how that ranks against the Brewers and the Cardinals. The Cardinals are 30-35 against teams above 500. Milwaukee Brewers are 36-29. Cincinnati Reds 36-43. And wow, have the Pittsburgh Pirates really fallen off? 21 games under 500, and they're 26-58 against teams above 500. So, I mean, but yeah, we have to take a second with the Pittsburgh Pirates. We'll do that later, actually, when we do the NL Central talk. But I think they lost 20 of 24 at a point. They were up today, I think, by 4 or 5 runs in the 7th or 8th inning. They blew it. Just awful against St. Louis, which unfortunately they stayed just 2 games back. We could have really used that from Pittsburgh to keep them at 3. But anyways, get into that later. As for game 1 for the Cubs in this 4-game weekend series, it was a 12-5 win for the Cubs. And Alex Wood pitched in this one, and he really wasn't good. I thought he would be good, and I thought it would be a pitching duel, but it was anything but that. As on the other side, Cole Hamels also exited after 3 innings of his own work. Both pitchers gave up 5 runs. Hamels had 4 earned. Alex Woods, all were earned. Both pitchers gave up 8 hits. 2 strikeouts for each, and Hamels had 2 walks compared to Woods just 1. But a homer given up on each side, a lot of hard contact, and guys got on base in this one. The Cubs totaled 19 hits. 19 hits, guys. We had 7 guys with multi-hit games. Jonathan Lucroy, actually, he was 3 for 5. I think I said 2 for 4 before. But he was 3 for 5. He had 3 hits. Chris Bryant, 3 hits. And, of course, our guy, Nick Castellanos. And he started it off in the 3rd inning. After it was a 1-1 game through 2, Nicholas Castellanos solo shot his 2nd as a Cub in the 3rd inning. His 13th of the year, made it a 2-1 game. Javi followed that up with his 31st double and RBI double to make it 3-1. And then Ian Happ, that's our guy, in his hometown. He went to University of Cincinnati for college, and he grew up in Ohio. He loves hitting in Great American Ballpark. I believe he has the highest OPS recorded for any hitter in Great American Ballpark. I want to say that is a correct stat. I believe it's OPS. But anyways, his 2-run scoring single made it 5-1 through 3.5. However, this kid, I believe it's Aristides Aquino, he hit a homer, a 2-run shot in the 3rd, and we'll get into what he did yesterday. But wow, this kid's got power. And the ball flies off his bat. Something about the launch angle on a few of his homers, it's like a laser beam. And we had to intentionally walk him. I mean, this kid's a rookie. He's played in 10 career games yesterday. His 10th career game was yesterday. I get he has 3 homers. But for you to get intentionally walked, you know how good you have to be to get intentionally walked in any MLB game? In a situation that's not a pitcher? Incredible. Anyways, you have to tip your cap to that kid. That's why I say, luckily we won, or we split 2-2 in this one, because they killed us yesterday and the day before. Anyways, it was a 5-5 game through 3, and then Castellanos' next at bat in the next inning